And we are now recording. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to give our guests a few more minutes to join us, and then we will be getting started here shortly. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for our exporting webinar. We have some great speakers ready for you. If you'll see here in the chat, we have our agenda for today, which includes introductions. Our City of Houston representative will say some words, and then that will be followed by the SBA presentation. We will have time for questions at the end, so make sure you send us questions in the chat box that we can answer for you. I'm Abby Gonzalez. I'm an economic development specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration here at our Houston district office. I will be putting my contact information in the chat box as well, so you can email me to receive the recording link once this session has been completed, as well as a copy of today's presentation from the SBA. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Dr. Portia Jackson of the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. Portia?
Thanks, Abby. Hello, everyone, and greetings from OBO. I am the Business Development Manager with the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. Mayor Turner said, Houston is a world-class international city striving towards an ever more global future. So over the past 3 years, OBO has teamed with the Mayor's Office of Trade and International Affairs for the annual Export Resources Forum, designed to connect our local businesses to opportunities worldwide. So it is a pleasure to have this webinar as part of the Export Forum with our partners at SBA to continue efforts to educate small businesses on exporting opportunities and how to fund these endeavors. Therefore, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Chris Olson, who is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Trade and International Affairs, where he serves as the Houston's Chief Diplomat and Head of International Business Development. His tremendous experience working globally as a foreign service officer, as a business consultant, and a military officer, supervising programs in Africa, Middle East, and Central Asia for the U.S. Department of State. Chris is highly qualified, and we are so glad to have him today on this webinar. So everyone, please welcome Mr. Chris Olson.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Portia. Thank you for all the attendees, and to the Small Business Administration for everything you do to help us continue to grow and develop trade both in the United States and in Houston, and then help all of our partners in the United States be able to come up with ways to work internationally. This has been a challenging time for all of us, and especially for those that are built on an export economy and an export region, trying to work through the pandemic. So first and foremost, my thoughts go out to all of you. I wish you all the best of health. I hope your families have all remained in good health, and certainly prayers go out to the more than 1 million worldwide that have unfortunately perished because of the pandemic. We hopefully will keep moving forward from this and developing forward as we come up with solutions not only to the pandemic, but to our global trade dilemmas. First today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about trade in Houston, just for those who are either A, unfamiliar, or B, don't really fully understand the scope and power of global trade and its importance to Houston. And then I'll talk a little bit about what my office does. And then, of course, leave time not only for the fantastic discussion with the Small Business Administration after my discussion, but then also open time for questions. I'm also going to virtually introduce, although they're not here on camera, I have two trade specialists that work for me in my office. Mazda Denon is one of our global trade managers covering Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. And Stephanie Brooks is one of my other trade managers covering Latin America and Asia. Both of them are highly experienced in the global portfolio and the global realm. And as we go through and after this discussion, if there's any questions, please reach out to any of us that are here. Trade in Houston. Really, Houston is one of the unique cities in the United States, and that Houston was really founded on international trade. Starting back in 1836, when the Allen brothers first landed in what is now downtown Houston, it began as a trading hub and evolved into what is one of the global leaders in energy, life sciences, manufacturing, logistics, aerospace, and aviation, industries many of you were all involved in. Houston is the energy capital of the world, but that has evolved and is no longer just oil and gas. But now Houston is one of those leading epicenters of this energy transition and the growing energy economy that's built on renewable and alternate fuel sources. As Mayor Turner likes to say, we are the energy capital of the world, but we're not going to rest on these laurels and be satisfied with having the crown in the past. We want to continue to be the energy capital of the world, which means we need to be the leader of energy transition. Again, opportunities for all small businesses. As you know, Houston is also home to the largest medical complex in the world, where people from around the globe come to Houston for medical treatment, and they partner with Houston area hospitals and Houston area companies to build on that expertise. We're also a growing hub of life science technology and innovation, and we're going to remain on that cutting edge of medical innovation. Houston, as you know, is also the home of manned spaceflight, and we're expanding and growing the aerospace sector with the development of the Ellington Spaceport, as well as the continuing expansion of NASA. Houston was the home to land the man on the moon, and Houston plans to be the home when we land the first person on Mars. In fact, we actually have 10 of the largest aerospace companies that are anchored right here in Houston. We're also a growing innovation and digital technology hub, where companies like Microsoft, Google, and Verizon have made Houston the center of a lot of their innovation around smart cities, around energy technology, and around how do we build a more resilient city of the future. Of course, anchoring our great international city is our ports and airports. The Houston port is the largest for foreign gross tonnage anywhere in the United States. And nearly 20% of all of this region's economy is tied directly to exports, more than any other metro in the United States. And that all supports about 330,000 jobs. And just as a small example of how international Houston is when it comes to trade, we have global trade relationships with more than 200 countries, and 45 different countries have total trade valued at more than $1 billion a year. This is to highlight really the fact that it's not just a certain region of the world that Houston trades with. It is truly a global relationship. And again, I went through the data first to kind of just showcase not only how Houston is really founded and based on global trade, but also that is where there's so many opportunities for small and mid-sized businesses in Houston. It is well documented that companies that look to an export market tend to grow faster, grow larger, and grow more profitable based on exports. But that's really where Houston has excelled over the years, is building that export economy and building companies that can export. It's not just large petrochemical companies, but it is a broad range of companies involved in aerospace and life sciences, in the broader concept of the energy sector, as well as in our traditional oil and gas. So that's a kind of a conceptual framework of just the importance of trade to Houston and why we have an office in the mayor's office that is dedicated toward trade and global affairs. As I mentioned before, my office does both of those things. We are the trade office, so in the sense we serve as the trade representatives of the city of Houston, but we also manage the international affairs side, meaning we're almost the foreign minister and the foreign ministry of the city of Houston. So we manage those complex bilateral, multilateral global relationships. because of that mandate and because of the breadth of that, we are more strategic conveners. We are the office that builds relationships with the global community, and that relationships can be with a range of different sources, resources, be that sovereign governments, be that global chambers of commerce, be that individual multinational companies, all with the goal of facilitating international trade. So what we do more specifically is our office manages both inbound and outbound trade missions. So that's trade missions that are coming from foreign countries into Houston that might be potentially led by a government, or more often than not by one of our many chambers of commerce here in Houston that are bringing opportunities into the Houston area. We also help run and facilitate outbound trade missions where we look to showcase all the things that Houston can offer to a foreign market. And that is not only to get and provide opportunities for Houston companies to potentially export, but it's also geared of attracting foreign direct investment into the Houston market. I'm sure many of you saw that Houston was recently awarded, I guess, by the Financial Times as being the #3 global city of the future for global trade. And that's largely because we have such an enticing location for foreign direct investment by foreign governments and by foreign companies. But that also ties directly into our ability to export those products once they're made or manufactured here in Houston. That also creates additional opportunities to grow, expand, and broaden our global trade portfolio. What our office also does is, beyond attracting the FDI and running those trade missions, we work with all of our local, regional, international chambers of commerce on activities and plans. That's both planning for programming, taking part in events such as this, but also looking for and finding opportunities to build those international and global linkages that will help better enable Houston companies to engage with a foreign market. We are the City of Houston's representatives to the District Export Council, where we help discuss a lot of the opportunities for the export market for our small and mid-sized businesses. My office also coordinates all of our activities and our relationships with our more than 90 foreign consulates that are here in Houston. Now, we do have more than 90 foreign consulates, but what really makes that different from, say, the largest concentration of consulates in New York or those in Los Angeles is that most of those foreign consulates here in Houston are here in Houston because of the economic potential and because of the trade relationships that exist between their countries and the broader Houston region. Houston region generally includes most of the southeastern United States and all of Texas, but there's a reason why they are here in Houston. It's because this is the center of trade and they understand and know that. So we work on the relationships and build the relationships with all of our counterpart foreign trade representatives in those consulates, as well as the consuls general, to be able to create increased bilateral economic ties and bilateral economic opportunities for Houston companies. Now, what we've found is that when we're looking at a lot of these export markets and small businesses, the two big questions that often come to mind are kind of how the companies can best position to get into those markets and how companies can make those introductions and build those relationships into that. While our office doesn't necessarily do that for individual companies, what we work hard to do is create the environment by which individual companies can build and have opportunity to make those relationships. That's through trade missions, that's through symposiums, that's through relationships with the chambers of commerce, and that's through engaging with our office and the City of Houston. So to that, I really encourage everybody to visit the MOTIA's website, and we'll be able to provide all that information. And I saw a chat come up with our website and our office information. We've recently redone the website to be able to make it more of a resource to our small and mid-sized business community that's looking at an export opportunity. That's both with links to connect you to those resources that are better positioned to help individual companies, such as the Office of Business Opportunity and the Small Business Administration joining us today, as well as the U.S. Commercial Service that has many programs that can help exporters in specific markets. We also run and operate a calendar of international events. That's a fairly new addition we're doing, and I encourage anyone that has an event that's going on to register your event on our calendar so it can be better shared. We also have undertaken a new initiative to build out our social media portfolios. That's on LinkedIn, that is on Facebook and Twitter, a little bit on YouTube and others. But really, again, that's to showcase not only what our office is doing, but really the opportunities that exist for our Houston community to engage on international trade and global affairs kinds of activities. One of the things we've been doing a lot as well, since a lot of businesses were really going through a number of challenges, even with the many resources that organizations like the SBA offered, both with loans, the PPP loans, the other kinds of activities that were going on to try to help keep small businesses afloat, to include the Mayor's initiative with the Office of Business Opportunity to provide small business grants. We've been doing a lot of advising and guiding, both strategically and a little tactically with some of our partner companies. And a few themes that have really come out that if you haven't already done, and those who are here have not already been working on, I highly encourage is getting back to some of those business basics. And by that, I mean, what we've worked with a number of companies on is using the time of the pandemic when they're looking to see how they're pivoting their company to stay afloat, is to take yet another look at that pivot. And are you actually going to be able to pivot to sustain yourself through and as we hopefully emerge from the pandemic? Or is the pivot just based on surviving the pandemic, but you need then that pathway to get you pivoted back to the core business once we're through? We've also worked with a few on helping kind of work through the concept of how to go back to the basics on reducing overheads, on eliminating as many fixed costs as possible, on how do we restructure the debt portfolios during these times and when banks are challenged as well, is how are we restructuring our debt notice and our accounts receivables to be able to make sure that we can sustain through the longer term. Reducing expenses while working on those receivables has been one of those key things that has helped a number of our companies be able to stay afloat. There's a saying with small businesses, I know many of you know, that the hardest part is to work on the business and stop working in the business, especially as a CEO and as a leader of the company. And this really has been a time to try to work on the business and think of kind of how that strategy is going to look. When it comes to looking at what we're going to work with export markets, what we are seeing across the board is that companies are opening again, countries are opening again, and there are incredible opportunities that are starting to emerge in that export marketplace as the United States continues to have challenges, as we still have travel restrictions just inside the United States. Looking south of the border to our markets in Central and Latin America, which is Houston's kind of easy key for small and mid-sized businesses because of proximity. Looking toward what opportunities you can use with our free trade zones, looking to what market potential there is in foreign markets and doing some of the analysis that is going to help you be able to enter that market more sustainably, more profitably, as you reduce those costs, is what we have found to be key right now. We look forward to working with everybody that's on. We still and absolutely incredibly value our partnership we have with the Office of Business Opportunity and with the Small Business Administration. As Portia started in her introduction, this is in some ways a small piece of what we used to do and what we still will do as an export resource forum. The first year, what we did is, I guess not the first year, 2 years ago, we really highlighted the large resources that are available. That includes the SBA, Import-Export Bank, the Greater Houston Partnership, the Office of Business Opportunity, and a myriad of other resources, again, which we've tried to highlight on our website, but we certainly are welcome to talk to anybody more about that. Last year, we tried to highlight a little bit more the chambers of commerce that are here in Houston area. For almost every region of the world, there is a chamber of commerce that exists that can help small companies figure out if that's the right market for them, what are the challenges in those individual markets, because they have small businesses that are also operating in those markets. And that is a tremendous resource that sometimes is not always thought of as a great one to turn to, but one we really highly encourage and have found great value from. And in addition to that, the second piece of it is that peer-to-peer mentorship that goes on, be that through an organization like SCORE that the OBO can help make sure to partner you with, or just the individual business-to-business relationships between two founders brokered by one of the chambers of commerce, which we have seen to provide great dividends. In fact, last year at last year's panel, we had 3 small businesses that are involved in the export market that were the ones up there to help provide guidance and lessons learned. And one of the members on that came out of it saying he learned more by attending than he knew by connecting him with those resources from one of the chambers. So again, I highly encourage everyone to look at those other resources that are available, as well as some of the larger official resources through the governmental components. With that, I will yield the rest of my time. But again, I thank you, Abby, the Small Business Administration, Office of Business Opportunity, and everyone here for providing me the opportunity to introduce the Office of Trade and International Affairs. I certainly welcome anybody contacting myself, Mazda, Stephanie, or our office with anything that you need. Welcome questions at the end or questions afterwards. And finally, we'll hopefully keep moving through, but exporting and looking to a global marketplace is one of the best pathways to business success, if not sometimes a little challenging and daunting. I certainly am glad everyone has joined us today to have this conversation. We look forward to continuing it. Abby, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today and for providing that really great information on behalf of the City of Houston. And just as a reminder, if you would put your contact information in the chat, I did put your website so that our attendees can go and find more information. And just so that you all know, Chris will be with us until the end of the webinar for questions. So I do see that we had a hand raised, but we're going to hold on Q&A until the end of our session. So I'd now like to introduce you all to Sonia Maldonado. She is a lender relations specialist and District International Trade Officer with our SBA Houston District Office. She's going to talk to us today about SBA resources for exporters. Sonia?
Can you hear me, Abby?
Yes, and I can see your presentation. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. And you can see the presentation? Perfect. Can you see the full screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm gonna move on. Thank you so much. I'm gonna take my picture away so I can focus on this presentation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Abby, for setting up this presentation, and also thank you to the city for allowing us to also collaborate with you. And for everybody that's on the call, I'm going to go through a lot of information. I want to give you as much information as possible so that you can learn about our resources and SBA's export loan programs. Let me go ahead to the next slide. Okay, that's not working. Hold on one second. I'm going to the next slide. Okay, so this is basically our address. Please log on to our website to find out more information about our SBA products. Also, if you're interested in receiving SBA training, we've been doing a lot of webinars. Our marketing team, including Abby, have been doing a lot of webinars in Spanish for the public. If you're interested, please sign up at sba.gov/tx/Houston. And just to give you a quick snapshot of who we are, basically we are a federal government agency funded by Congress in 1953 to be able to, or to help counsel and assist millions of small businesses throughout the United States. And of course, our mission is to be able to strengthen the nation's economy with the resources that we have by aiding, counseling, and assisting to protect the interests of the small business. We also have, as Chris was mentioning, we have our resource partners, or the nationwide network of resource partners. Those are SCORE or scorehouston.org. That we have offices nationwide to help you with business counseling and training. But the idea basically for SBA putting these resources out there is to provide you with startup information to help you grow and to be able to succeed. Our programs and resources is the goal to provide an advance necessary for small businesses and for you to compete effectively in the marketplace, and to again strengthen the nation's economy. I'm not going to go through all of these. I will have this presentation available if you're interested. I will send it to Abigail and she can send it to all of you. But I wanted to bring to your attention some of the products that we do have available. We just don't have the export loan programs. We also have regular SBA 7A loan programs and the 504 loan programs. I mentioned our resource partners, SCORE, SBDC, and the Women's Business Center. We also have government contracting. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about government contracting, please visit this website. We also have surety bonding for those type of businesses that are in construction. We also have an office of advocacy. If you have any issues or if you're interested in gaining statistical information about small businesses, you can go to this website. And also we have the Office of National Ombudsman who can help small businesses if they have been unfairly treated and you have, enforcement actions. Also, these are a couple of other programs, the SBIC, SBIR, and STTR. These are other programs that the SBA has available. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I wanted to let you know that these programs are available and you should, if you're interested in applying for these programs. So to go back to the presentation and give you some insights as to where we are. Pretty much we're everywhere nationally. The green area is where we are, the Houston district office. We have approximately 7 district offices here in the Texas region. And this is the counties that the SBA Houston district office covers, from Angelina to Leon and Liberty all the way to Wharton. So if you're in another county, that means that you'll be working through another SBA district office. I'll give you a quick example of the SBA loan programs. If you're, let's say, interested in obtaining an SBA loan and that loan is $100,000, you would visit with a lender. So the lender is the one that is going to extend the credit to you for the loan. And the SBA guarantees it at 90%. So if something were to happen to the loan or to the business, obviously, then the lender would request its guarantee of 90%, and the SBA will give the lender $90,000. And then here's another example of a $200,000 loan for our other SBA loan products. Now, eligibility requirements, again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just want to make you aware of some of the ones that are very important. You also, the business obviously has to be for profit. You also can find out whether or not you're a small business, because if you exceed the size standards, then you will not be able to qualify for SBA financing. You must be a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, have invested equity, use alternative financing resources, be able to demonstrate the need for your loan, not be delinquent on any federal government debt, and show good credit, obviously your good character. And also, if there's any issues with past probation, etc., then there will have to be a clearance eligibility. Also, this is some information for the lenders, but obviously, you know that if you're obtaining a loan, that many lenders require injections, and those injections can be in the form of collateral, or it could be your own injection, your own money. It could be 10%. Some lenders require 10, 20, and some lenders require 30%. SBA's maximum is 30%. But the SBA standard operating procedure says that it can be at least 10%. Now, it depends on the lender. Remember that. This is the website here where you can determine whether or not your business is small. So that's how you determine. And in this book here, the one that the North American Industry Classification System, or the NAICS, is where you find your NAICS code. It's approximately 6 digits, and you just look to see if you're, let's say, a service type of business, and your business makes over $25 million a year, then that means that you're too big to obtain SBA financing. So just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of what SBA's size standards mean. Also, there are guarantee fees, and these are the fees for any dollar amount starting from up to $150,000 or less. There's 2% of the guarantee portion, and then it gets higher as the loan amount gets higher as well. Now, for the export loans, usually there's going to be one of the loan products that we have that it could be 3 years or 12 months, and the fee will be 0.25%. This is some insights on your interest rate. So I'm going to just cover here the amount over 50,000. So the prime rate, and as I noted here, is 325, and the prime rate plus 225, your interest rate will be that amount. Now, it will also depend on the lender, the rate that they're utilizing. Okay, so if it's less than 7 years, if your term is less than 7 years, then this would be your interest rate. And if it's more than 7 years and if it's over $50,000, then it's prime plus 2 3/4. So SBA's loan program, the 7A loan program, is SBA's major loan product, and this product basically reduces the risk to the lenders. And then eligibility credit criteria of the programs are very broad in order to accommodate a wide range of financing needs. So as you know, SBA has a 7A loan programs, but there are small loan programs beneath it. And of course, the SBA specialized export loan programs. These are the 3 export loan programs that the SBA has: the Export Working Capital, the International Trade, and the Export Express. So this Export Working Capital is up to $5 million. Of course, this amount can be less, but it's up to $5 million with a guarantee of 90%, and it could be used for short-term working capital loans, and it may be transaction-based or asset-based that supports also a letter of credit. As you can see here, this loan maturity is up to 3 years. There's no SBA maximum interest rates, and SBA does monitor the interest rate when the lender, there are lenders that applied with the SBA to be export lenders. So if you're interested, you could go to the resource guide. The current resource guide that is on our website is the 2019-2020. On page 10, you will be able to find the lenders. But if you need more information and you want to find out whether or not you qualify, then I'm going to walk you through visiting with our business counselors and our business advisors at the Small Business Development Center so that they can provide you with additional insight in applying for your export loan. Now, benefits to the borrower on this particular loan product is providing you, the exporter, with additional working capital to increase your export sales without disrupting your domestic financing. The use of proceeds to pay manufacturing costs of goods, to purchase goods or service for export, and to support your letter of credit. The benefits: low fees, quick processing times, fast turnaround, and it is a streamlined processing, easy to use line of credit. And again, because of the time, I'm gonna rush it a little bit. I'm going to go into the next product. This is the international trade, which this one is financing for your international growth. This one is also $5 million at 90% guaranteed. But look at the maturity on this one. This one is 25 years. The interest rates will be the same as the 7A program, and also the guarantee fees. Now, who qualifies? The qualifications are in our standard operating procedure. They're under the 7A loan program, but you also have to be engaged in international trade or have been adversely affected by the competition from imports. It's best that you have also a business export plan. And the benefits, again, long-term financing to allow small businesses to compete more effectively in the international marketplace. And the use of proceeds, again, is for permanent working capital. For this particular loan, you could use it for equipment, facilities, land and building, debt refinancing related to international trade. The last export loan product that we have is the SBA's Export Express, which will enhance your export development. This loan amount is $500,000 with a guaranteed amount of 90% for only $350,000. So anything less than $350,000 is 90% guarantee. Anything higher than that is 75% guarantee. This is the SBA's simplest export loan product. It can take the form of a term loan or a revolving line of credit. There are many lenders that are participating in this SBA loan product. Remember, not all the lenders participate in all SBA export loan products. So you have to make sure that if you're seeking with a lender, you can either contact me and I can let you know which lenders are participating in which loan program. Now, the beauty of this program is that once SBA receives the application, it will be 36 hours from the time that the lender submitted the application to SBA. And also the business, you must be in business at least 12 months. Now, this can be waived. And you'll need to contact the Office of International Trade to see if it's been less than 12 months so that your 1 year in business can be waived. The term loans, again, it could be for a letter of credit up to 7 years. And the benefits, again, is fast turnaround. And as I mentioned earlier, streamlined processing. These are a couple of other benefits for the Export Express. It could enhance your export development for a revolving line of credit. You can also use this product to participate in a foreign trade show, translate product literature into other languages, finance specific export orders. So let's say maybe the exporter has already been working with a company in another country and you have an export order, then you can use this loan product. You can purchase equipment, inventory, or real estate, etc., etc. So the ineligible use of proceeds, remember, the funding or the financing that you get is to, your business must be headquartered here in the United States, and you will not be able to utilize SBA export financing to open up a business in another country, as mentioned here in this slide. So you won't be able to construct a building in another country using the funds from the U.S. government. These are some examples of the SBA export financing. So let's say you want to ship goods from the U.S. to its territory, that qualifies. Goods sold to U.S. military at an overseas base, you will not be able to do that. Services provided drilled for hydrothermal resources in East Africa, yes, you can do that. U.S. design goods manufactured in China and shipped directly to a buyer in Japan. No, you cannot do that. And what they mean by that is that you cannot do drop shipment. Okay, so let's say you're working already with a foreign company and they're manufacturing your goods and you want to ship it from China to Japan, you will not be able to do that. The product has to be coming or leaving from the United States. You can also use the export loan products for consultancy services, for a conference, or to provide management advice to a customer in the UK. You can use product also for selling logistics services to a German company to the US, for example, freight, insurance, and in-country transportation services. So you'll be able to utilize SBA products. And of course, you can use the Export Express, which is for the marketing and expansion of US-based hospitality assets to attract and serve foreign visitors. So you'll be able to use that too. Now, I wanted to bring to your attention this SBA State Trade Expansion Program, which is the acronym STEP, is an SBA grant. Approximately, the grant is from $7,000 to $10,000 this year. If you want to learn a little bit more, these are for exporters or people that are interested in learning about exports or just starting to export. You can apply for this grant. You have to apply through this website here, the Texas Agricultural or the Department of Agriculture. They're the ones administering this STEP export program for us. So remember, these funds are from the SBA and they're also from the Department of Agriculture. So these funds, we have approximately $700,000 available for this STEP program. So if you're interested, the applications is open right now. These are the eligibility requirements. Again, I'm not going to go through all of the requirements, but again, you must be organized in the US. You have to be export ready. seeking to export goods or services to U.S. origin or have at least 51% U.S. content. So remember, these are some of the eligibility requirements for you to apply, and you have been in business for not less than 1 year at the time of application. So in this particular STEP grant, you should have already been in business at least 1 year. And again, we'll send this information to you so that you will review it. We have also the Export Finance Director is Ayla Allowed. He's with the Office of International Trade. And also Jeremy Foreman, who is our new International Trade and Finance Specialist. If you have questions, you can talk to us. We can also conference together with you. You can also email me or contact any one of us if you have additional questions. Now, remember, if you're a startup, you can contact our resource partners. This is just some statistics about exporting. Nearly 96% of consumers live outside the U.S., and 2/3 of the world's purchasing power is in foreign countries. So we really do want you to export. But before you export, we want you to be able to be ready, okay? You have to do your homework. The benefits of exporting, obviously, is going to help you increase your sales and profits, reduce the dependence on the domestic market, and extend sales potential and shelf life of existing products. So you can go to this website here so you can answer some questions to find out whether or not you're ready. You could also go here to find out if you export readiness assessment. And this is some information with regards to export training and business counseling. Remember, you can contact SCORE, the Small Business Development Center, the UZIACS, and the Women's Business Center for more information on training and counseling. You must create an export business plan, conduct market research. You can contact the Department of Commerce, or as Chris mentioned earlier, the U.S. Commercial Services has also a lot of great services. And I do give you some insights about them here. Before I do, let me just finish up with these. You could also find buyers through the U.S. Commercial Services, so you have to go through them, and you can call them. And then, of course, the sixth step would be, for you to obtain your financing. So if you are interested, or if you are ready now to obtain your financing, you can visit Hagel, or you can give me a call and I can tell you which lenders are available for exporting. Or I have given you the link for our resource guide so that you can look for a lender yourself. But remember, I cannot stress enough, please be ready for your export loan product. Remember, you have to do your research. Go to regulations.gov. You could also go to bis.doc.gov, more information with regards to international trade. Also, OPIC, to find out more information about these other government agencies that are involved in export or international trade. And then I know that Chris mentioned XM Bank. They can provide you with finance also, but they can provide you with export credit insurance. So please contact them. I've provided you the contact information is Eric Miller. He's the regional director. And then these are the contacts for the department, the U.S. Commercial Services, the Department of Commerce. I'm giving you a quick insight here of what they do, which is trade counseling, market intelligence, and a couple of other topics. And they have approximately 109 offices throughout the United States. This is their contacts. This is their website, export.gov. They have a lot of trainings online. So I encourage you, if you are a startup, to go to export.gov to learn about licensing, if you need licensing, or if you want to speak to somebody. Remember, they're going to require you to already be in business at least 1 year. But these are the contacts here locally. And SBA also has an online training. So if you're interested, you could go to our website and go to the Learning Center to learn a little bit more about SBA's export loans. But there are many other export trainings through the census.gov, and a couple of other federal government trainings. I think how much time do we have, Abby? Are we
It's 2:44 now, so if you want to wrap up and we can open up for questions, go ahead and finish up your presentation.
I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So I just want to tell everybody, thank you. Tell everybody, remember that you must understand your market. And you can go to, I'll give you an example. Let's say you were working with a particular country, let's say Africa. You could go to the U.S. Commercial Services website, export.gov/Africa, and you could learn a lot about that particular country from this website. So you can just put any country and it'll be able to give you some insights. Also conduct market research. This is just some information for you so that you'll be able to conduct market research. You're gonna have to put that information in your business plan. The lender is gonna want to see that, and they also gonna want to know whether or not you know what you're doing and that you understand your business. So that's all I have, Abby. Back to you.
Thank you, Sonia, for a wealth of information in a very short amount of time. I appreciate that. I appreciate you joining us and giving us all this SBA resources. So for those joining us, please keep in mind that we can share this presentation, and I have put my email address in the chat so that you can access the recording link of this webinar. I'm sure some of you will want to go back and listen to it again to take in more of that information. So don't worry if you felt that you missed something, we are here to help. Also, the contact information of each of our presenters is in the chat box. So we would now like to open the chat for questions. So please feel free to send us your questions in the chat or the Q&A for both Sonia and for Chris. They are both still on the line and they are here to help. Chris, did you have any other comments to add while we wait on questions to come in?
Really, what I'll do is I'll just amplify what Sonia said. Was there are a lot of really great resources out there that can help small businesses that are looking to export for the first time, or that are looking to enter new markets. And as she showed on her presentation, be that from the U.S. Commercial Service, from Ex-Im Bank, from the State Department, from the different kinds of things, understanding your product and understanding what value your product can have, and having a good value proposition that you can articulate to a foreign market, and then making sure you understand both the needs and structure of that foreign market you want to export to. The foreign market most in interest of your product might not be one you ever really thought of. It might not be the closest, it might not be the country of origin that you're from. But there's incredible potential. As Sonia pointed out, 94% of your customers do not live in this country. So the more you can access and gain entry into those global markets, the more potential there is for success, because you've diversified your customer and you've probably found a more lucrative market.
That's great advice, Chris. Thank you so much for that. I think you both made really good points about researching and knowing your market and understanding it before jumping in. And you've both provided such good resources. A lot of those links are in the chat for everyone who's listening in. The chat has a lot of really good information, but keep in mind, we can share the recording so that you can access this at a later time as well. So it doesn't look like we've had any questions come in. Maybe we stumped them, or they're taking in all of the information. But if you guys wanted to add any more information or provide any other tips you have for our exporters. One question for me, I would ask, what advice would you give to small businesses who are wanting to export but feel overwhelmed by just the substantial amount of information that they need to receive? What would you tell them?
What I would tell them, Abby, is that they really do need to do their homework. They really do need to do their research, because as the saying goes, buyer beware or exporter beware. You don't want to be in a situation where you have not done your homework and then you get penalized with, fines. So you want to definitely avoid that. And if you have questions, reach out to the folks, SBA, Ex-Im, the city, of course, City of Houston, and any other federal government agency. I mean, we're here to assist you. The websites are available, so go in and do your homework.
That's great
And to
advice.
echo on
Yeah,
to
go
echo on
ahead.
the homework, Abby, just once as one thing is talk to people, and that could be from those resource providers, as Sonia mentioned, but it also could just be from another small business owner that's been through the experience already before. And that's
Correct.
what we found is just that peer-to-peer mentoring sometimes is the most valuable. They'll highlight the mistakes they made, the successes they had, the pitfalls you may have that you didn't expect, and they can demystify and sometimes take the fear out of it when you've talked to someone who's done it before.
Right. And
Great.
the other thing that I like to mention, Abby, is we have a couple of business counselors that have a wealth of experience in international trade, and the advice is free. So take advantage of that. Also, the small business development centers have business advisors that have some background in international trade. So definitely reach out to SCORE. And just type in, click on the tab for mentor and type in export advice. And you should be speaking with an export business counselor that can provide you with additional insights for free. They don't charge you for that advice.
Thank you, Sonia, for adding that. Yes, exactly. Our SBA resource partners include the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, and the Women's Business Center. They all provide free advising to small business owners right now that is taking place virtually. So they are there to help you entirely free of charge. So take advantage of that resource. So we did receive a question. Oh, and also Elizabeth Charles of our office has graciously put all of the links for our resource partners in the chat for us. Thank you so much, Liz, for that. So please feel free to visit their websites to schedule an appointment with them. We do have a question from Magnifique. She says, Sonia mentioned that the company must be in existence for at least 1 year. Does a company have to have a certain revenue before they can apply for the export resources? Great question.
Okay, so the export resources, those resources are free, except now I know that there are some government agencies like the U.S. Commercial Services. So if you wanted to use their Gold Key product, which is to help you find buyers in other countries, I believe is only $800 or maybe $900 now, which is a small investment in them helping you find a buyer or vetting businesses in other countries. So that there may be a cost with some agencies, but with our resource partners, there is no cost in terms of the business one-on-one advice. Now, there are some business trainings and webinars that they may charge, but lately with the COVID, they've been doing all of them for free. So take advantage. Take advantage.
Yes, thank you, Sonia. And Magnifique, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think her question was related to applying for one of the export loans. Does a company have to have a certain amount of revenue before applying?
Well, yes, absolutely. Now, let's say you're needing $100,000, and the lender obviously is going to look at how much you will be able to pay, and if you cannot afford to pay, let's say it's $1,000 a month that you're paying on that loan, from all of the debt, what they're calculating is they're subtracting all the debt and also including the loan. So if you cannot make a loan payment, then that means that you have to go with a lower loan amount. Right? So you have to apply for what you'll be able to qualify for. I know there's an amortization chart in Google, or you can research it and just type in how much financing you want to obtain. Let's say maybe 50,000, put in the interest rate and then your term. And then you could figure out how much your loan would be per month. And you could determine whether or not from the sales of your company, whether or not you'll be able to make that payment. And then you would know that you'll be able to make that payment for that amount of loan. Now, if you can afford more, then you could also include that in the amortization table, and you could determine for yourself whether or not you'll be able to obtain the financing. But remember, there are lenders that don't do small loans. Some of them, they consider small loans maybe a $350,000 loan, a small loan. To you, maybe $350,000 is a big loan. So every lender, it depends. You have to ask the right questions. You have to ask when you're talking to the lender, how much financing can you obtain from them and what's their cap? What is their injection? What is their credit score requirement? And then maybe other questions too that you can ask before you apply for your loan, or speak to one of our business counselors. I'm sure that they'll be able to give you additional guidance.
Thank you, Sonia. We have another question from Monica. She says, how likely am I to secure exports for services, education, and consulting? Chris or Sonia, did you want to answer that?
Yes, actually, and I'll let you, Chris, also answer. Yes, they will be able to use the Export Express, which is one of the loan products that they'll be able to utilize for that particular service. So let's say you have a type of business that you provide a service to other people in other countries. You'll be able to use SBA's product. Now, remember, there's eligibility criteria, et cetera, et cetera. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more, you can speak to a lender. Please don't give out your social, because, a lot of times when you give out your social, they pull your credit, and you don't want your credit to start decreasing every time they pull it. You want to be certain that before you decide on doing this loan that, they only pull your credit once. So you have to ask the right question.
Yeah, and from just what I've seen from more of a, I guess, the practical standpoint in terms of market entry, is that sometimes the barriers to entry for consulting and that kind of service can be higher because of different regulations and licensing requirements, but it also can be a lot lower because it's usually based more on a relationship that's already been developed that is between the individual that's going to provide the service and the country or organization that's interested in receiving the service. And because sometimes you're not actually transmitting a physical product, that a lot of those other barriers, including shipping and customs and tariffs and quality control in both the departing and the host country, those can be eliminated, and it can certainly generate that revenue potentially earlier than selling a defined product. But then it becomes much more of a relationship-based market development build, rather than more of a market survey to see if a product is of interest in a certain country. Again, going back to Sonia's earlier point, the research on the market is the most fundamental and hardest sometimes, but the easiest part as well, because you really have to understand the market you're trying to enter and making sure that there's enough market potential where you're going to warrant the investment of going into it.
Right. And also, I like to mention one more thing, Abby. The borrowers will also have to check the country limitation list to make sure that the U.S. is doing business with a particular country. There are approximately seven countries that the U.S. is not doing business with. So make sure you check with the eximbank.gov and look at the country limitations list.
Thank you. A great suggestion. So I want to thank both of our presenters from today, Chris from the City of Houston, Sonia from the SBA. Again, all of the contact information is in the chat, so feel free to save that information and to email me for a link to the recording of today's session or a copy of the presentation. And finally, keep in mind that we have a wealth of webinars every week on different subjects, including webinars where we will be partnering again with the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity on subjects that include starting a new business and how to become an entrepreneur after the age of 50. So just a few subjects we're working on. So please feel free to reach out to myself or Dr. Jackson, whose information is also in the chat. Again, Chris, Sonia, thank you so much for all of that information, and looking forward to hearing more from both of you about this very important subject.
Thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you all. Y'all have a great one.
Bye, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.